Africa Rise is a facility that has been put together by the European Union, and we cover 25 countries across the Eastern African region, Southern African region, and the Indian Ocean. We normally provide technical assistance within specific countries. The EDB of Madagascar reached out to us to say that they wanted to learn more, the benchmark, about public-private dialogue around the region. We thought it would be a great idea for us to organize a peer-to-peer learning engagement. We organized a plenary session where we had some specific examples that were discussed, including how Mauritius dealt with the financial crisis, how Mauritius engages in negotiations for trade agreements, and then also how Mauritius has been changing the business process landscape in the country by doing reforms and doing both a public-public engagement and public-private engagement.
Le RMCE a fait des peer learning events dans le passé, mais cette fois-ci c'était un modèle nouveau et je pense que Africa Rise doit penser à refaire ce modèle de peer learning dans d'autres circonstances, dans d'autres pays. Je crois que c'était très enrichissant.
After the plenary, we had 2 days of meetings. The first meeting that we had was with Business Mauritius. They shared their experience as a business organization and association for the private sector, the interaction, how they engage both in a formal way and in an informal way the government of Mauritius.
We work on 3 areas: on the national collaboration and economic development, we work on sustainability and inclusive growth, and we work on the social capital, the relationship between employers and employees. So in those 3 areas, we're involved with all the government initiatives to be able to develop the economy in a sustainable and inclusive way.
So the EDB was present during the plenary session where they provided quite a bit of an insight on the work that they have been doing on trade and business reforms. Our meeting with them after the plenary was essentially for us to get a deeper insight on that interaction where the EDB sits between the public and the private sector.
Being the National Investment Promotion Agency, one of our core mandate is strategic economic planning. So this involves public-private consultations and dialogue. The most relevant example that I can give you is for the national budget, which is done on a yearly basis. So in able to draft measures and make budget proposals. So the EDB hosts sectorial workshops on a yearly basis with industry players and top-notch companies to be able to discuss and take stock about the challenges that companies are facing and to be able to make representations in the national budget to implement new measures.
Our meeting next was with the International Trade Division, and it's specifically for us to talk about one particularity of Mauritius in the sense that whenever there are negotiations that happen in Mauritius, it always involves the private sector. Also, during the negotiations, you have the private sector and the public sector sitting at the same level on the negotiating table. And this is a specific case and maybe an exception, the Mauritian exception. But it also shows how it has helped Mauritius benefit a lot from all those treaties that have been negotiated because it has been negotiated directly with benefit of the private sector in mind.
At the MCCI, we are structured, we've got a council of members. And within our directors, we also have associations who are represented, sectoral associations. So the structuring is very important. What I would like to put forward, if we want to succeed in the public-private dialogue, taking the case of Mauritius, for example, is that you need to have a very structured way of looking at things and getting each sector to really have a mechanism where they consult with the members and we talk consultation, it's internal sectoral. Then only you have bring it up to the public authorities for negotiations, for discussions, for giving up your views. So this is of paramount importance. So structuring is very, very crucial.
The next day, we had a very high-level discussion with the DG of the MRA. And Mr. La really took us through how the MRA has changed to be much more responsive towards the private sector. It is now in the middle of all this interaction between public and private, whether reforms or non-reform, but also the digitalization process that has been put in place through the MRA that facilitates both the collection of revenue and the disbursement, for instance, of some schemes, etc. We had a very interesting meeting with the Ministry of ICT, and we discovered how the digital architecture of Mauritius has been built and is being built. And having that is a really important way to facilitate government services to the private sector, and also the interaction between the private sector and the public sector. The engagement with MEXA was really axed again towards how, as a private sector institution in Mauritius, there was also a need to have an international cooperation with similar institutions in Madagascar. As you know, there are many companies from Mauritius that have set up in Madagascar. And so there is a commonality of interest between the two countries. Two entities, two private entities are able to work together. It will be for the common good of the export sectors of both Mauritius and Madagascar.
Avec Africa Rise, on bénéficie donc d'une assistance technique pour renforcer notre capacité par rapport au dialogue public-privé.
On a rencontré pendant les 3 derniers jours des collègues, des partenaires du secteur public, du secteur privé, ici à Maurice.
Tous les acteurs ont un objectif vraiment général, commun, c'est vraiment de développer le pays, développer Maurice, défendre l'intérêt de Maurice.
Je pense que le modèle qui existe à Maurice, de collaboration très étroite et qui n'est pas forcément encadré dans un framework rigide, peut être une piste de solution pour améliorer le dialogue entre le secteur public et le secteur privé à Madagascar. On s'en sort très enrichi de ces 3 jours passés ici.